I love this. I love here that we have Emily, Amy, and G on the Council of Moms. Welcome to the Council of Moms, because Fast and the Furious was already taken. Right? And also too much on the nose. Fast and Furious.
Furious is really accurate for me.
You know, that's the franchise.
Yeah.
The Council of Moms, we only make it look easy. The Council, and I like this one. The Council of Moms, because despite what our kids think, we know we're cool.
Yeah,
that's right.
So this is what's happening here. This is our safe place. And the Council of Moms, we may not have all the answers, but we also care too much. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
I thought that one was going.
Right?
Yeah, but it's so true.
But it's true.
So true.
We meet together because we care so much and because we have all this experience, and we got to share it, or we've got to make it better for everybody else too.
We got to make sure we didn't do too much harm, right?
Right? We got to bond together and share, and also roll our eyes, maybe.
There you go.
Be like,
there
well,
you
that
go.
happened. It's true. Okay, so on the Council of Moms, we get a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions, just like on social media or when I'm out and about, and also like emailed in. So it's kind of fun, and I collect them and bring them to you here. And this one just like has me thinking a lot. I think about this a lot because I've changed in the 26 years that I've been a parent. I've changed my mind and my philosophy on a lot of things. And so this question, I would have answered it a lot differently than I would have answered it 15 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So I'm dying to know what you guys think. So I think I've assembled here the right women for the job. What does helping my child do their best mean? And how does it change as they get older?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big one. What does helping my child do their best really mean? And how does it change as they get older?
That is such a great question.
I have a thought.
Dive right in, Emily, because we need you now more than ever. You're our only
weird place because we're older parents, so we have a very young child and then an adult child and an in between. But this is the same for my 8-year-old and my 21-year-old. For them, helping them do their best is helping them do it by themselves. Does that make sense?
Okay. So this is an important element to this question, is the autonomy.
Yes. Okay. Like example, 8-year-old, he is so struggling to get his homework done every week unless I'm sitting right next to him, on him with every page and every question. And I'm like, this is not productive, because then we're fighting and he feels forced and he really needs to be like doing this on his own. Same thing with my 21-year-old. She needs to make her own doctor's appointments. She needs to get her own phone fixed. She needs to find a job on her own. You know what I mean? Like that it would be best for both of them, for their confidence, for their future skill set, just for their own, life skills in general, if they could do these things on their own. And it might not be how I would do it, but at least then I'm not doing it.
That's okay. True. I appreciate that perspective. G and Amy, how do you see this question?
So, sorry, Amy, I'll just share a thought. When our kids were young, my husband had a saying, and I know I'm just kind of referencing him, but he's like, get a desk, get a clock, and get some goals and pin it on the wall. And it was just like that. It was like we created this
for that dad.
So we created a space in every child's room, right? For working, right? Doing homework, thoughts, creating. We also put a clock in there to manage, like time means something. And so the more you waste it, the less you're going to be productive. And then the goals. So the interesting thing, the goals would vary, right? They pick their goals. We're not going to pick it for them. And typically they would have sports, academics, and, some of them did arts, music, that sort of thing. But our youngest son, I asked him one day, hey, what's your goal? And he's like, I want to have fun. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Sure you don't want to take 4 AP classes? Sure you don't?
But I gotta tell you, this kid is such a social kid and he's so endearing. People will take them with them on their family vacations because they love this kid.
Oh,
But that was his goal. His goal was to enjoy life, not take things so seriously. And so when you're talking about your best, it's like you got to empower them to know who they are and what they're about. And if they're not like anyone else, that's okay too. You know, this poor kid sat by the teacher's desk a lot of years. It was like, oh my gosh, son, come on. We gotta move forward. But I gotta tell you, it's the joy of watching them develop. And I'm so grateful that they took that ownership, you know, at a young age. So
okay. I love that. And it is really like driven by their goals. And I like that you account for
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Amy, what's your
I love how-
perspective?
Well, I just love how Emily said that. So they look different, right? What your 8-year-old can accomplish looks different than what your 21-year-old can accomplish. But I love you pointed out, Lisa, the autonomy is the cool part of that, is the part that is important for each of them. And so it will look different for your little guy. He's still dependent on you in so many ways. And, you know, you're having to say, no, you make that phone call for your 21-year-old. I think that's just really a great perspective. That's a huge part of helping our kids do their best, is to be able to do things on their own, to manage their time. Like G's saying, look at the clock and see, what does this look like? And gosh, I manage that a lot, especially for my older kids. You know, you're talking about, Lisa, the difference, the ways that your opinion has changed. And I saw that a lot as my job as the mom, to manage the time. You know, that's my
Right.
job, to make sure
Too.
they get
I
to
did
school
too.
on time. And that, you know, and then for a long time that reflected on me, right? I used that to gauge whether or not I was a good mom. That's garbage, you know, but it's what I was doing for sure. Yeah. So, I think I'm still like stuck in what a cool question. Like, I don't feel like right now I have a very good answer for it, but I want to think more about it. Like, what does this look like for my kids? How do I help them be their best?
So this is why it's been difficult for me to assess this question and how I've changed my mind. Like, I think before, like, doing your best means like, okay, so you're in the 3rd grade and you should get your best is if you're smart and you don't have extenuating circumstances for this, then you should get good grades, you know, and good is a sliding scale or whatever, that you should try as hard in all of these areas that I think that you should try hard in. Now I've changed my answer because over the years I've realized, what I value and what I think is important isn't intrinsically have more value just because I do. It's just a point in direction that I've decided to lead our family as the head of the house, you know, whatever that means. And, you know, I want to be the head of the house. My kids won't listen to me. No, just kidding. No, but, and so it was really like, based like doing your best in sports, in academics, in hobbies, in art, in music, like kind of. Now I'm just like, no, doing their best, what in life, in living, like, I love what you were like, I want to have fun, like valuing fun we might have like put aside, but really your youngest is saying more of like how I want to live my life. It's more philosophical. And I actually think it actually has more value in an overall thing, because you could bring that into any part of your life. What I've learned since is that your best, none of us performs our best in a vacuum. That our best is influenced by so many factors that we didn't know before, that I didn't know before, that I know now. Mental health, family situations, social situations, age development, cognitive reasoning, the development of the frontal lobe and reasoning skills. No, really, the weather, everything
100%.
affects what your best is. And you guys know that someday your best may look like 10% to somebody on that day, but that is 100% because it's the best you can do under the circumstances at that day. So sorry to get a little philosophical, but I do have a point. My point is so that as we're helping our kids determine what their best is, it's so hard to judge another on their passion. I realized that what I meant when I was like, just do your best and we'll be proud of with you, whether it's an A or a C, as long as you do your best, that is kind of unrealistic, because what I wanted was for them to put their whole heart and soul and have passion for things that they just might not ever feel passionate about and still have a successful life, you know, and because of what I value. So now I've had to really like reevaluate what that looks like. Just because I'm passionate and driven in certain areas, like the relationships I have in my life, I'm very passionate about that, or having music in my life, super passionate about that. Things like that are going to be different for everybody, but their best is that they find something that they feel passionate about. Anyway, so that's how that question has changed for me.
You know, when we look at people's best, we're always comparing, right? And I think siblings naturally are going to compare themselves like, oh, you know, child A gets all A's and I don't get A's. And so I'm bad. Or so-and-so is this star football player, but I don't like football and I'm bad. And so they start kind of figuring out that they're not good at this game of doing their best. And so when we were raising our children, we kind of turned it around and said, okay, because we would share, you know, when we get together as a family, and we would share, oh, what happened this week? And, you know, let's celebrate whoever did whatever achievement. And we turned it around. We said, we know you guys can do well in certain things, but who are you helping? Who do you see around you that is not sitting with somebody? Who do you see that's had a bad day? Who do you see that, you know, has been neglected? And it turned the tables. So the guy that wasn't the star football player could be the guy that did good for that week, because it's like, hey, I saw Johnny, he was sitting there and he didn't have any food. So I actually gave him my lunch. And it was like, yes, let's celebrate that, you know, versus I got an A, I'm student of the month, I'm star captain. And so we actually termed that the Mr. Hustle Award, because not only are you out there hustling to get things done, but you're hustling to help others. And that really brought a balance, I think, to achieving your best.
Yeah, best that's reflecting your values. Wow.
Yeah.
And sometimes a kid who gets an A hasn't actually tried as hard as a kid who gets a C, right? And so you think
it's not doing their best.
We have this cultural, obsession with a good grade, but it may not really reflect their best. That's so great to sort of reframe that and push that away. A different lens, to look at it through a different lens. I was just thinking about engagement too, and passion, Lisa, when you were talking about honoring that. You know, we've seen our kids maybe try, a bare minimum on some things that are important to us. I don't know, school, for example, a class, a grade, and it's like, what? I need this many more points in order to pass the class, with a grade that I would not have dreamed of getting in high school. But they're totally fine with it.
I'm so with you, Amy.
We start on these stories of like, oh my gosh, does this kid have any ambition? Does he have any drive? Like, what's going to happen? What's his future going to look like? And then we see him work so hard on a project that he cares about that is unattached to a grade or any kind of like external validation. We see him put his heart and soul into it and then think, oh, interesting. I guess he can work really hard when he cares about the thing, right? So his very best, sometimes we have these just different lenses that we look at it through. It's been great to see that I've overlooked what maybe quote unquote best would look like through my own.
I appreciate you sharing
biases.
that perspective about how your idea of what is best changes over the years. So let me do what I do best and sprinkle a little of motherhood anxiety onto this conversation.
Good. Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
No, but really acknowledge why it is that this is such a tricky question for us. Because I've thought about it, and I think at the heart of us, obviously, we care about our children more than we care about our own egos. Yes, sometimes our egos get in the way because, like, of course, we want to be like, oh, my kids got all A's and they got into Harvard and whatever. Great. Like, I don't care about that now. But there was a time where I was like, oh, that would be nice. But, it doesn't measure anything, right? Okay. So that aside, we really do want them to achieve their dreams, whatever they are, even if they're not ones that we would pick for them. I do believe the best of like talking with most moms, they just like find your passion, find what you would love to do to make a contribution to the world. I would love to see what you choose. And we know that certain things have to be done to get from where they are to what their dreams are. And so as we're trying to help them birth their plan as a, you know, dream midwife, we know that there's going to be certain steps we need to take. And when they don't care about the steps that we think they need to take to get to their dream, not our dream, their dream, we get frustrated because we think, you don't care enough, right? Like this is, you got to do your best in order to get there. And so I'd love to know what you do in that situation where it's their passion. It's something that they care about. Our egos are separate from it. And we're trying to help them do that. How do you sort of light that fire, remind them like you should work hard, or what your philosophy is on best in that situation?
I want to be a dream midwife.
That's what you are. That's what moms are.
That was awesome.
I love it. Yeah.
It was a little much, but
No.
I still feel it. I feel it
That's what we are.
100%.
We're
Thank you.
we're at least doulas, right? We're
At
dream
least.
doulas.
Maybe not
Yes.
medically trained. Yes, you bet.
That's
You know,
hard. That's so hard because like
Still super encouraging.
before when I was saying like my kids are doing their best if they're doing it themselves, that it kind of plays to that too. It's like if they're really passionate
Yeah.
about something, that is motivating for them, right? And that is they'll put forth the discipline needed to achieve their dreams. But you're right. Sometimes they drop the ball or they let things fall through the crack that they shouldn't. And it's so hard, right? Because we can't catch every ball they drop, but we also can't watch them throw opportunities away. It's so hard. Because we've seen that too, right? Where our kids have had like totally rad opportunities to do stuff, but they sleep on it and then it passes and we're like,
Yeah, they missed it.
yeah.
Sometimes
Is that-
literally sleep on it.
Literally. Amy. Amen. Yeah.
We've been on a few of those journeys. I feel like our sons have been really big into football. Their dad played football. They had this dream of playing football, and then they don't grow to be a certain size. And you're just like, it's okay. Like, let's kind of pivot. But the interesting thing is we had one son who actually made the team, you know, had all this passion, made the team. And then he decides, you know what, Mom? I don't want to play football. I'm like, what are you saying you don't want to play? Like, I'm ready to cheer at the games. I'm so excited, right? D1 football. And he pivoted to doing his art, but that's what he was so passionate about. But, you know, as parents, it's hard for us to let go because sometimes we want to just be married to that dream and, you know, have all of this accolades of, yes, they did it.
Mhm.
But then you also can have them fall short of really the best results for them. In fact, someone told him, like, I'm so glad you chose art over football because you're going to make a bigger impact doing art than you would on the football field, and just allowing people to see yourself differently, you know? And so I feel like as parents, you got to let it play out. Like, this life is hard. You want to know where these kids are going. You want to ensure their success. But I feel like as you continue to be that midwife and just kind of support them along the way, things are going to develop. I have found in ways that were much better than what you had even known at that time. So
I love
Okay,
that.
I've got something revolutionary, you guys.
We're ready. This is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, this is big. What if the best way to help our kids do their best, or maybe find their best, is to let them fail themselves and learn their own lessons
but
from
I'm
it?
feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah. That gives
yeah,
I know.
same.
That's how I know you're right. That's how I know. Yeah.
So
and what does that
hard.
failure look like? I actually had an older mom that I admired who had these just really unique but cool kids who were adults. And I didn't, because her kids were older than mine, I didn't know. And I was at some neighborhood thing, you know, yapping along like I do about my kids. And she asked me a question about how one of my kids was doing. And I said something like, not great. And it was all related to school. And like, I've tried everything. And let me tell you all the things that I've tried to get this kid to do well in school. And she looked at me and she's like, but what if you just let him fail? And I was like,
Yeah.
the class? And she's like, high school. Like, what if he failed? And I was like, are you kidding me? And like, I was shocked. And she's like, yeah, let me tell you a little story. And I had no idea that one of her kids had totally failed. And she's like, I let them. And they have so many other options that they can do now. They can take the GED. They can already get into college without having graduated. It's not like all of the doors in the future are closed to them. Like, what if you just let them? And I was so shocked. And I remember going home like, what if I let them fail? What if? What
That is
if?
hard to go.
Like, it was so hard for me, but I respected her enough. And she didn't say it flippantly. She said it almost like, are you ready for this? Like, because this is what I really think, but I know how you're going to take it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And so I felt like it was treasured knowledge, and it was. And it actually was very, very helpful because it takes a little bit of that anxiety off. Because like, what if? And I used to think, oh, if a kid failed a class or failed a grade, or didn't graduate, that was the worst thing in high school. And I'm here, in the world. And I'm here to tell you that's not the worst thing in the world.
There are worse things.
There are worse things.
There are worse
Lots
things.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that idea, Amy, I think that it taught me a lot of stuff about like where the responsibility lies and the anxiety.
Yeah, I love that you shared that, Lisa, because we had a kid like that. The same kid that wanted to have a lot of fun went to school to just see his friends and hang out. And that was great, right? And then graduation comes around and it's like, guess what? You're not graduating. And he actually took ownership of it after graduation, where he's like, no, I want to finish it. So he finished it right before they would cut off, your ability to do packets. So, but I tell you what, I love the idea you mentioned, Amy, of failure in a different way, because when I heard this saying like once, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Meaning, why don't you just try your wildest dreams? Why don't you just go out there? Who cares? Like, just try. And I feel like when you give your child that mindset of, who cares? I'm just going to try. That's when their best can be achieved, because they don't put that ceiling on them. Like, I'm only going to be this person because this is how people see me. Or why can't I be this person just because I don't have A, B, and C? Why don't I try? And I just love that. I feel like a lot of our kids have gotten to where they are because they haven't taken themselves so seriously. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll try it. And then they do well and they're just like, oh, wow, I did it. So I love that idea.
Amy, how do you think we practice letting our kids fail better?
Well, maybe this is an answer. I was thinking of this while G was talking about a growth mindset. You guys probably know the book Mindset, and this idea between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And what you're describing, G, that willingness to try something is a growth mindset where it's not tied to your identity, where you're not suddenly a terrible person or a complete failure if you don't get the A or you don't make the football team. And that fosters such a willingness to try things and to experiment with things. And so I think maybe that's it, where we focus less. So as parents, what we do, we focus less on person praise, like, you're such a good student, you're so smart, you're so athletic. We focus on process praise. We say, wow, I saw you working so hard at that. I was so impressed with how many times you redrew that, or I was so impressed with how long you stuck with learning that song or whatever. I wonder, can we experiment with this and play around, that maybe that creates the conditions that G's talking about, where there's a willingness to try things without that fear of failure, without failure meaning, absolute, end of the world, where failure just means, oh, I made a mistake and I guess I'll try again. That didn't work out. Let me try this, like that ability to bounce back.
Definitely.
And I think along those lines, you've got to build a culture within your family to support that, so that they're not looking at their friends for validation and they're like, oh, I don't match that because my friend has more money. They live in a bigger house. They have more cars, blah, 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 blah. That wasn't us. That wasn't our family. We were the ones that everyone would come over to the house and eat, but we weren't the big house with all the cars. But the thing of it is, when you build a culture of support in your family, that's who matters.
Yeah.
And when you become the family that, hey, try it. And the funny thing is, you got to model that as a parent. You got to get out and continue to grow and develop as a parent, because then you show them you're not done yet. Like, even at my age, I'm going to school. I'm learning things that I didn't know I could do. I'm trying things, right? And so that they know that they're not capped at 25 when they're an adult. And it's like, I should have a
Yes.
house. I should be married. I should have my kids. It's like, well, guess what? This is my journey and I'm good with it, right? Because I'm still trying. I think that's the most important. It's not the failing, it's the trying
Yeah.
that allows them to continue to evolve and become this person. And so I just love, we're empty nesters. Each kid is on their own journey and we celebrate them for where they're at. They're not all the same. And that's a blessing because they don't feel like they're competing. It's like, hey, I'm going to be this person. You be that person. And together as a family, we feel like we're all in it together. So I love the culture that you can build in your own family to support them.
And I love that
So
we
good.
sometimes underestimate the power just of our example as our kids get older, and encouraging them in doing their best also includes them watching us do our best and what that looks like. We're giving them another example, and having strong, like, adult relationships for other adults that care about them, other than their parents. They see them doing their best and it looks different. It sort of gives us each other permission to see it, that growth mindset, like you talked about, Amy, in action and other people. And I think that can feel more encouraging. So when they're like, oh, I failed at this, or I tried this and it didn't work, and they have so many examples of other adults saying, oh yeah, that reminds me of something that happened to me too, or this or that or the other, they don't feel so alone in it, that it helps to encourage them. I think that's part about how we can help our kid do their best.
I want my kids to try, to not be afraid to fail. I want them to try everything, well, almost everything, but
Not everything.
but I think that I can see that with, like anxiety in a lot of young adults. They're afraid to try new things. They do not want to be uncomfortable.
And you can't do your best unless you try.
And you can't do your best. If you're not willing to be uncomfortable or do something a little scary or hard, you can't do your best. And I want to, like, instill that in my kids as much as possible. It's like, if it doesn't work out, who cares? It's fine. Just, you have to try,
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on the Council of Moms. No one tries harder than us. But it's true.
Yeah.
Thank you
that's the
so
tagline.
much, Emily, Amy, and G, for being here on the Council of Moms. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.